call your name. Oh, Jesus. Oh, sweet Jesus. Every day. Your name is the same. When my troubles surround me and I didn't have to despair, Lord, you told me that you'd be right there. It seems
shall we all rise, please? for no other reason than the kind of giants, the kind of icons that the inaugural lecturer has invited. I just pray that the roof is going to stay intact. Icons we haven't seen for a long time, but they're here to grace the occasion. We welcome them warmly. Now, may I invite Professor Khalid, El Khalid, give us the opening prayer, please.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of Allah, the beneficent and the merciful, all praise be to Allah, the Lord of all the world, the beneficent and the merciful, the leader of the day of judgment. You alone do we worship, and from you alone do we seek for help. Guide us onto the right path, the path of those whom you have favored, not of those who earn your anger, nor of those who go astray. Amen.
As usual, I'm going to request my colleague, who seems to know much more about personality than I do, to introduce members of the high table. Professor Adamu Kassim, please.
Members of this great gathering, it is my singular honor and pleasure to welcome all of you to this important inaugural lecture. And I'm sure you can believe me that today we have men and women of timber and caliber. Can we clap for all of them? Specifically, let me start by introducing the former Vice Chancellor, Professor S.U. Shehu, who is here with us. Can we give him a round of applause? We have Professor Adamu Beki with us. Can we give him a round of applause? We have another former Vice Chancellor, in person of Professor Ango Abdullahi. We have the CMD of Edu Teaching Hospital, Professor Lawal Khalid. Please pardon me for breaching protocol. Our host is heavily represented here. Sada, can we give it a round of applause? We have Bishop Professor C.S.S. Bello, Bishop of Zaria Diocese. Can we give it a round of applause? We have Professor Muta Ibrahim, former BC Katsina State University. Can we give him a round of applause? We have Mr. Abbas Ibrahim, Chairman ZNC. Can we give him a round of applause? We have Alhaji Ade Sani, budget, former bursary staff of this university. Can we give him a round of applause? We have Bishop Francis Omoda, I hope I pronounced it correctly. Can we give him a round of applause? We are expecting His Excellency, the former Vice President of this great republic, in person of Dr. Alex Ikweme, that we are going to be. We have Architect Aminu Idris, Dr. Ladiva Zaza. Can we give a round of applause? We have Professor Shafiu Abdullahi, Wakilin Makarantar Zaza. Can we give a round of applause? We have Alhaji Jibo, former boss, and can we give him a round of applause? We have Rector of Aviation here with us. Can we give him a round of applause? We have Ahmed Mora. Can we give him a round of applause? We have former Minister Dr. E.D. Hong. Can we give him a round of applause? And other many dignitaries, including distinguished professors, deans, HODs, and other invited guests whose list are too numerous for us to mention in this particular ceremony. But we welcome you all and we sincerely appreciate your presence. Once again, you are most welcome. Thank you, gentlemen.
University Organized Lectures Committee to give the opening remarks. Professor David. If Professor, all right, in his absence, maybe I should invite Professor Mrs. Alabi to do that which the chairman is supposed to do. Mrs. Alabi, please come to the podium and do so. Thank you so much.
The Vice Chancellor, sir, who is ably represented by the DVC admin, Professor Sada, the deans, directors, professors, heads of departments, distinguished guests that have come to grace this occasion. I wish on behalf of the chairman of the University Organized Lecture Committee to welcome you sincerely for this program. About a month ago, we had a lecture which was an inaugural lecture which was delivered by Professor Jerry Buhari from the Faculty of Environmental Design, and that was the fifth in the series that we've had in this year 2015. And today we are having a professor from the Faculty of Arts and Science, Professor Isioma. From the Faculty of Arts, from the Faculty of Arts, Professor Isioma Mabel Yemelekwe of the French Department, who will be presenting our inaugural lecture today as the sixth one in the series in this university. And we want to really appreciate the Vice Chancellor for giving us the opportunity to be able to have this series of lectures. And you agree with me that this is a special one today, that we are having so many dignitaries, even just as has been said earlier, that some who have not been here even for years are here today to grace this occasion. And we are most grateful that we are here. I want to also say that the title for the inaugural lecture today will be Erosion and Anti-Erosion in Literature in French. Can you see? And I believe all of us that are here today will be able to really see as the lecturer will be making her presentation. So I welcome you all, and I want to know that the Vice Chancellor, who is ably represented by the DVC admin, will be ready to even welcome us, especially even for this occasion. Thank you very much.
When you addressed my faculty at the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, people thought you were wrong. You're pretty right. The faculty has much more to do with science than any other science-based faculty, and I can tell you why, except that time is not going to permit. In my department, for instance, we teach neurolinguistics, the relationship between the brain and language. All right? We also teach physiology, but we can't speak without putting into consideration the speech organs. All right? What organs come into contact with what to produce what? So I'm going to stop here, right? So at this point, permit me to invite the representative of the Vice Chancellor, in the person of Professor Neya Sada, to give us a welcome address. Professor Neya Sada, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Ibrahim Garba, who is unavoidably absent, we are just at a retreat trying to finish the admission exercise when he just told me some few minutes ago to come down and represent him at this important lecture. We are highly honored today to have a unique gathering where we have so many former vice chancellors. Some, they are now in position of parents to most of us. Some are senior brothers. I always refer to them as senior brothers. Some certainly are colleagues on the same level with some of us. So certainly it's a great honor that this very inaugural lecture has brought together this kind of cream of personalities. So certainly allow me to particularly mention and welcome Professor Ango Abdullahi, Professor Adamu Beiki, Professor S.U. Abdullahi, and the rest of the other vice chancellors that are here. There are many, certainly. Former vice chancellor of Katsina is also here. Then we have so many other people that certainly are here. And then former vices, our father Bajibo Island is also here. It's certainly a great honor to welcome Bajibo too here. The chairman of the alumni, national chairman of the Alumni Association of this university, Dr. Ahmed Mora, I understand is also here. Former ministers like Idi Hong, and so many others. We have other religious leaders like the bishop that are here, so many of them. And also we are expecting, as I understand, the former vice president of this country, Alex Ikwemi. So it's a great pleasure, certainly, to stand here before you and welcome all of you to this inaugural lecture. When I picked the topic earlier, I was wondering how is it going to be delivered? Is it in English or in French? I was trying to remember some few words I know in French. What do I say, at least in French, to show that I'm not completely ignorant? But certainly I realize it's better for me to even keep quiet, so that you don't make a very fatal mistake. But certainly the writings of this great lady who is going to deliver this lecture, this professor, by accident I can say I have come across a few of her writings. And I found the writings really very, very interesting, really. The sense of humor and the way, the depth with which she touches some of the issues in the book, I found very, very interesting, really. So I believe this lecture is going to be very, very interesting. And since I'm going to have some few closing remarks, I think I'd rather keep quiet, listen to the lecture, and at the end of the lecture, then I will make my few comments that I want to make. So again, once again, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor and the entire university community, I would like to welcome all of you, particularly our guests from outside that have graced this important occasion. We are really honored by your presence here. It means a lot to us, and definitely we also appreciate the work done and the mobilization that has gone into bringing some of these exceptionally wonderful personalities to this university today. Thank you very much and welcome again.
Mr. DVC, if there is one person here that deserves special mention, well, not special mention per se, but a close friend of mine who turns out to be the husband to the inaugural lecturer, that Professor G.C. Onyemeliko. Is he here? Well, let me tell you that I started reading works of literature way back in 1970, as young as I am. And the first few novels I read in 1970 were I Killed the Drummer Boy, Burning Grass by Cyprian Quincy, and well, if I remember correctly, Things Fall Apart, written by Chino Achebe. Well, that was when I came to realize that the Igbo community is highly organized. They love proverbs, and the way to address them is I explain a cultural truth from the Igbo community. When whatever I say, simply help me say him, all right, all of you, except my parent there. So, Kwenu. Kwenu. Umodu Kwenu. Obodo nesi ye Kwenu. Amanye na boye Kwenu. Kwenu, Kwenu. The speaker, I know. Well, in the same novel, we used to do what today is called character analysis. If you want to know a character, you judge that person by what he does, or what he says, and what other people say about him. But now that I happen to cut across all the faculties in the university, jack of all trades and master of none, to call me that, we can go into the three major domains of education if we want to assess and not analyze a character. Cognitive domain has to do with knowledge. What knowledge does the person have of the subject matter, right? Psychomotor, the skills that are available, to the person. And then you also have affective domain, which has to do with attitude. So here, I want to make reference to one of the characters in that novel called Izewulu. If the pronunciation is wrong, please pardon me. But he says, I want to fight with a man who will throw a large stone into the air and use his head to receive it. Not someone who will ask for a fight, but when it comes, he passes premature shit. Right? So this particular character resembles none other than Ipioma Onyemelukwe Professor. I've known her for more than 25 years ago, and she has been such a wonderful fighter. Fighter for her rights, not a fighter unnecessarily. We worked together at the Institute of Education, and I'm glad that Professor Adamubeke is here. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman stagnated as senior lecturer for 14 years. But what she didn't know about me, the fact that I too got stagnated for 16 years as an assistant lecturer with a PhD in ABU. But the bottom line is, we are still alive, and we give glory to God for that. I have more to say, but that will come later. The bottom thing here is the inaugural lecture, not my noise. May I invite Dr. Jumo to read the citation of the inaugural lecture. Please, Captain.
Onyemelukwe was born on the 23rd of September 1950 to the family of Mr. and Mrs. John Hilton Genebo Wakolo of Umubele Village, Oka in Oka South local government area of Anambra State, southeast Nigeria. She commenced her primary education at the CMS Central School Onitsha and proceeded to Girls' School Onitsha, and was later transferred to St. John's CMS Central School Oturuobosi, Onitsha, where she earned her first school leaving certificate with a distinction in 1962. She then attended Anglican Girls Secondary School Ogidi. Briefly interrupted by the Nigerian Civil War, Ifeoma Mabel Onyemelukwe completed her secondary education with a grade 1 and best result in her school in the West African School Certificate Examination between 1970 and 1971. I thought you would clap. The young reformer initially wanted to study medicine and actually secured admission for human medicine at the University of Benin in 1972. But for certain reasons, opted for a degree in modern languages, French as major and German as subsidiary. At the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, that same year. While in the university, she enjoyed several scholarship awards. These are University of Nigeria, Nsukka Scholarship Award, 1973, East Central State of Nigeria Scholarship Award, 1973. She got the French Government Scholarship Award to accomplish a program abroad. She first attended the Cité University in Dakar, Senegal, where she obtained the diploma, the études françaises, in June 1975. Please pardon me, I'm not in French department. Before proceeding to the University de Tours in France, she also went on a German government scholarship to Murnau in West Germany, where she obtained the Certificat Dutch Al Frem des Sprache in August 1975. She earned a B.A. Hans degree in French with second-class honors, upper division in June 1976. Her arrival at the famous Ahmadu Bello University Zaria saw her proceeding to acquire a Master's of Arts degree in French in a record time of 2 years in August 1979. And later in 1982, a postgraduate diploma in education with distinction. And in 1987, she was awarded a Doctor of Philosophy in French. Professor Oyemelukwe got a tenure appointment with the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria after competing at NYSC in Kaduna State in 1977. First, she was with the Institute of Education, ABU Zaria, in 1978 as graduate assistant. Her initial posting Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have in our midst a special dignitary, a one-time Vice President to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Alex Ekweme. Please, you are welcome. Professor Oyemelukwe got a tenure appointment with the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria after completing her NYSC in Kaduna State in 1977, first with the Institute of Education, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, as a graduate assistant. Her initial posting was to ATC ABU Zaria, 1978 to 1991, and later to Institute of Education, ABU Zaria, 1992 to 2001. She was fully transferred to the Department of French, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, in April 2002, where she rose to the rank of professor in October 2005. She has been carrying out her full responsibilities in the Department of French till date. Professor Ifeoma Mabel Oyemelukwe thus became a professor of French with specialization in African literature of French expression. This distinguished scholar has made significant contributions to the growth and development of French in Nigeria and internationally. Her tenure as the coordinator of the French language education program of the Institute of Education from 1998 to 2001 gave a quantum leap to the program. She was also a principal contributor to the building and nurturing of the Department of French, FC Zaria. A similar role was also carried out towards the development of the Department of French, Kaduna State University, Kaduna, a department she headed while on sabbatical appointment between 2009 and 2010. A prolific and talented writer with 21 books to her credit, Professor Ifeoma Mabel Oyemelukwe has published books which have been recognized by authorities in French as appropriate indigenous instructional materials for the teaching and learning of French in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. In recognition of Professor Ifeoma Oyemelukwe's significant contribution to the advancement of the teaching and learning of French language in Nigeria, the French government sent her on scholarship to the Université de Linguistique Appliquée in Besançon, France in 2001, and to Université de Nantes, France in 2012. In each case, for a 1-month intensive course by way of professional development. This illustrious professor attracted the donation of many French books to the Institute of Education, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. This enabled the creation of the French Library in the French Language Education Unit of the Institute. Her academic impact does not stop at only the area of French. Students and colleagues in other disciplines like English, Hausa, political science, sociology, and international relations find some of the professor's publications very useful in their pursuit of academic excellence. Worthy of note are the 2 books Professor Ifeoma Oyemelukwe edited, which cover all the issues that concern women, functional and effective womanhood in 1995, and women in the 21st century in 1998. It is important to note that Professor Ifeoma Oyemelukwe's literary thrust is postmodern feminism, which recognizes man at the helm of affairs in the home, recommends complementarity of man and woman and respect for women's traditional roles as wives, mothers, and also as those who work outside their homes to contribute their quota to nation building. Much as Professor Ifeoma Oyemelukwe does not subscribe to women's oppression by men, she equally condemns oppression of man by woman. She believes that both man and woman have substantial contribution to make in society, and so should work hand in hand to advance the family and society forward and make the world a better place to live in. Professor Ifeoma Oyemelukwe, a trained teacher, teaches with great passion and commitment at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. She has supervised over 139 universities. 44 postgraduates have been under her supervision and mentorship, out of which 22 have long completed their MA thesis and PhD dissertations, and are excelling in their various fields of endeavor. Some have indeed become professors. The distinguished professor has served as external examiner to several institutions. She has also served as external assessor of colleagues to associate professorial and professorial cadres, and in panels of accreditation of French programs in several institutions of tertiary education in Nigeria. She is a field consultant as well as editor-in-chief to some reputable academic journals. This fervent researcher, committed, resourceful, and innovative writer has a total of 156 publications to her credit, out of which 96 articles are in peer-reviewed domestic and international journals to boot, 3 articles in official conference proceedings, 21 books of novels, and 36 conference or seminar papers. Noteworthy too is that Professor Ifeoma Oyemelukwe has 58 publications since her promotion to the rank of professor. Professor Mabel has held a number of leadership positions where she distinguished herself as an astute academic administrator. She was the head of the Department of French, Kaduna State University, while on sabbatical appointment between 2009 and 2010, member of Academic Monitoring Committee, ABU Zaria, representing Faculty of Arts, 2011 till date, appointed chairperson Academic Monitoring Committee of Faculty of Arts to ensure quality control, head of French, Languages and Publication Division, Institute of Education, between 1992 and 1994. Head of Languages, Distance Education Division, Institute of Education, ABU Zaria, between 1998 and 2001. Acting Head of Distance Education Division, Institute of Education, ABU Zaria. Coordinator of Diploma in French Language, Diploma in French Language Education, 2009 and 2011. She was once a treasurer at National Association of Women Academics between 1999 to 2001. Also chairperson Faith Management Board between 2004 and 2006. She's also a prominent member of some professional associations, notably University French Teachers Association of Nigeria, Modern Languages Association of Nigeria, Counseling Association of Nigeria, National Association of Women Academics Board, Linguistic Association of Nigeria, to mention just a few, ladies and gentlemen. As editor-in-chief of reputable academic journals, for instance, she served as the editor-in-chief of Kaduna State University Journal of French between 2009 and 2011, Northern Inter-University Journal of French between 2010 and 2012, Associate Editor at Ahmadu Bello University Journal of French since 1998. She's a field consultant to some reputable academic journals, which we have mentioned some of them. Professor Ifeoma Oyemelukwe, in her evidence, actively involved in many community development activities, impacting tremendously on individuals and groups. The positive impact which the outstanding scholar wields in various quarters in Nigeria and abroad has earned her several accolades, awards, and decorations. This includes the Woman of Merit Gold Award in recognition of her contribution to national development in the sphere of higher education in Nigeria. Award of honor by Agwata Development Union, Zaria, in recognition of her outstanding contributions towards the upliftment of the Union in October 2011. Award of Mother of Honor, selfless service for Christ and humanity, from Mothers Union to Women's Guild of All Saints Anglican Church Zaria, and so many others. Professor Ifeoma Oyemelukwe is cited in Contemporary Who is Who since 2002. International Who is Who of Professional and Business Women since 2002. Professor Oyemelukwe is indeed married to Professor Geoffrey Chuwike Oyemelukwe. Please rise for recognition, sir. Member of the Order of Niger, a professor of medicine and immunology of international repute. The couple is blessed with 5 children. Onyekachi, a civil engineer, Obiageli, a medical doctor, Umma, an economist, Toochukwu, a business administrator, and Ike Chukwu, a chemical engineer. The Vice Chancellor, sir, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, former Vice Chancellors here present, Principal Officers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Professor Ifeoma Mabel Oyemelukwe.
Bonjour. Banca de Rana. Elioma. Etaton. Good time. Good afternoon. We have just greeted you in several languages of the world, including Nigerian languages. Did you hear your own? We would have loved to greet every person here in his or her own language. But if we do so, it will mean that we all have to sit here for this inaugural lecture for the next 2 weeks or months. Because according to Ethnologue, there are 6,909 languages in the world. Nigeria alone has 514 indigenous languages. Since language is the vehicle for expression of literature, one gains an insight into the number of literatures we have in the world. I happen to be in a department where we speak French, Department of French. And I specialize in African literature of French expression. I can assure you that by the time you leave this auditorium, you will start with at least a word of French. Ça va? Ça va? This inaugural lecture is dedicated to my late parents, Mr. John Hilton Kelebo Mwakalo, and Mrs. Kathleen Aboma Mwakalo, ni Onubiko, and to my husband, Prof. G.C. Onyemelukwe, M.O.N. First and foremost, my deepest gratitude goes to the Almighty God, whose word is final. The Most High God, the most merciful God, made me what I am today. To Him be all the glory, honor, dominion, and majesty, now and forevermore. Amen. There are many people that has impacted on me, and time will not permit me to start talking about it now, but I have properly acknowledged all on paper. I thank you all. But I consider myself highly honored to follow the footsteps of highly esteemed professors of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria who have come to this podium before me to give their inaugural lecture. This is the first inaugural lecture from the Department of French, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. An inaugural lecture was presented from the Department of History, Faculty of Arts, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria by Professor Abdullahi Mahdi in 1997. I thank my dean and my colleagues from the Faculty of Arts for presenting me to give an inaugural lecture from the Faculty of Arts today. The subject of discourse is heroism and anti-heroism in French. Can you see? Heroism refers to heroic or extremely courageous and brave conduct, performance, or action, particularly as exhibited in achieving a high purpose or attaining a noble goal. It simply calls to mind the qualities, attributes, or characteristics of a hero or a heroine. Jean Baudrillard, a French sociologist and philosopher, asked this pertinent question. I quote, "What is a society without a heroic dimension?" And Bertolt Brecht, a German writer, asserts, "Unhappy the land in need of heroes." Can you see the importance of this lecture? Anti-heroism is the opposite of heroism. It refers to unheroic, extremely debased, mean, and villainous conduct, performance, or action, especially as exhibited in achieving a mean purpose or realizing a selfish ambition or goal. Anti-heroism calls to mind the qualities, attributes, or characteristics of an anti-hero or an anti-heroine. Literature refers to works of imagination with aesthetic, cultural, and educative values, reflecting the historical, social, and political realities of past, present, and future times. Therefore, talking about literature, whether expressed in indigenous African or Nigerian languages, Swahili, Hausa, Tiv, Yoruba, etc., or in English, Portuguese, or French, is talking about what concerns us humans in real life situations. Heroism is a subject of general and sometimes universal interest. It is a topical issue in our present-day world, entrenched in anti-heroic acts and events. In a world where majority of youth are given to substance abuse, graduate from schools, and are jobless, wallowing in absolute poverty, a world where women and children suffer all kinds of violence, what with women trafficking, forced prostitution, rape, incest, harmful traditional practices,
A world where kidnapping, acts of terrorism, wars of genocide, massacre, religious and inter-ethnic wars are the order of the day. Heroism is, without a doubt, a choice topic, a very appropriate one in times like this. Acts of violence are generally unheroic, mean and villainous. Warfare is a large-scale, organized violence which a state or a group of individuals unleash on another. Violence can be physical, verbal, word of mouth, psychological, structural, or revolutionary. In the context of the present discourse, I define violence as a deliberate, I quote, a deliberate or unintentional exertion of force or power against a person, group, or community, which either leads to or has the potentiality of resulting in damage to property, verbal or emotional abuse, injury, psychological harm, maldevelopment, or deprivation. We talk of structural violence when the system put in place is disjunctive and dysfunctional towards development and leaves the population in utter depravity. Creating conditions that will make an individual not meet his or her basic needs of food, shelter, and clothing is unleashing structural violence on the person. Denying an individual his or her fundamental human rights, like the right to life, right to practice his religion, right to practice his profession, right to his identity and honor. Freedom of expression or thought is unleashing structural violence on the person. Corruption, squandermania, unemployment, joblessness, abject poverty, and beggary are clear manifestations of structural violence. These are anti-heroic acts. And these anti-heroic acts are obviously in need of a counteraction, a call for change, for a revolutionary violence perhaps. What is revolutionary violence? Marx, 1982, advocated this form of violence. Revolutionary violence, according to Marxists like Sendelisman, 1960, Franz Fanon, 1968, is the means to dislodge the colonial system and inherit capitalism and extirpate colonial violence. Revolutionary violence is a counter-violence so necessary for uprooting any malfunctioning system of government, any dysfunctional social system, in order to create a better social order. The lecture today aims to demonstrate the manifestations of heroism and anti-heroism in literature of French expression, as reflected in the scholarly productions of the inaugural lecturer. And so it has to, one, describe some of the lecturer's contributions to our field of specialization and professional practice and the world of knowledge in general, in relation to heroism and anti-heroism during the 37 years of our journey through the Ivory Tower. Secondly, to awaken people's consciousness to the need for a renewed spirit of heroism to contend with anti-heroic acts in our decadent society, thereby ushering in development, peace, stability, and progress. Literature has a variety of meanings. A whole body of information published on a subject matter, e.g. scientific literature medical literature. Any printed material, particularly advertising leaflet, It's referred to as literature. Literature refers to works of art such as poems, plays, novels, and short stories, which are appreciated from the standpoint of their aesthetic and thematic values. We are concerned primarily here with creative writings and creative writers in French, and of course, literary critical works. The creative writer uses his or her personal experiences as well as the experiences of others to produce works of literature. Language is used as the medium of expression with a target audience or public in mind. The body of knowledge called literature concerns an ethnic group. Literature expresses the national and cultural consciousness of the nation in question. It is, in fact, the mirror of the human society in question. Thus, we have German literature for Germans, Italian literature for Italians, French literature for the French, and African literature for Africans, Nigerian literature for Nigerians. In a multilingual nation like Nigeria, with 514 indigenous languages, many literatures make up the national literature. For example, we have Nigerian literature expressed in indigenous Nigerian languages, like Magana Jarechi. We have Joa Obinna, a novel in Igbo by Tony Besi. We have Nigerian literature expressed in English, like Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, Wole Soyinka's The Interpreters. We have Nigerian literature of French expression. For example, Shango, a playtext published in 1968 by Olabalogun. Olabalogun is the first Nigerian writer of French expression. We also have a collection of poems, Siso, by Unimna Francis Andre, a professor of French in the University of Calabar. We also have Uwoma Elobomon, published in 2003, and Udemy, published in 2010 by Ifoma Onyemelebe. I define African literature as, I quote, the totality of creative works, oral or written, expressed in autochthonous or non-autochthonous African languages, about the life and the experiences of Africans, works written by Africans or non-Africans who have lived long in Africa, works meant for Africans and by extension for all others in the global community. The term heroism has undergone a lot of evolution over the centuries. We have heroes in Greek and Roman antiquity, Western medieval heroes, big tragedy heroes, and we have tragic heroes like Orest, who kills his mother, Oedipe, who kills his father and marries his mother, Medea, who kills his children, Medea, who kills her children. We have hero in the context of modern contemporary literature, another meaning, and in fantasy, hero in fantasy like Jackie Chan, the modern comedy. Not of Pride came up with the typology of the hero, 6 types: the hero of myth, the hero of romance, the hero of high mimetic mode, the hero of low mimetic mode, the hero of ironic mode, and the hero of ironic myth. In the contemporary sense, The word hero refers to ordinary central character in a fictional work. In summary, the word hero has two basic meanings in literary work, in creative writing. An admirable Superman and an ordinary central character, as we shall see today. Anti-heroism calls to mind acts of absurdities like eating of human flesh and parts, as reflected in contemporary literature of French expression. In the contemporary sense, the word hero is limited to the protagonist or central character of a fictional work. The modern hero is better known as the anti-hero or the unheroic protagonist. In real life situations, can you identify the hero and the anti-hero? The world is usually perceived as a place for the good, the bad, and the ugly. A man who sees a child missing his way and helps reconnect him to his parents via the police is a hero. On the other hand, the one that capitalizes on the child's misfortune and uses him for ritual is an anti-hero. The lecturer or the parent that aids and abets examination malpractice is an anti-hero. The trader who cheats his customers, including giving fake products, is an anti-hero. But the individual who serves his or her nation with patriotism and highest ideals is a hero or heroine. Can we look around and see there? Can we see there? Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to go into heroism in literature in French proper. For my BA research project, 1976, I carried out a thematic analysis of Voltaïque, a collection of 13 short stories by the famous Senegalese novelist, short story writer, film writer and director, Sembène Ousmane. My MA thesis, 1979, spurred on by my BA project, was on characterization, focusing on Sembène Ousmane's novelistic protagonist from L'Odoke Noir, published in 1956, to Hala, published in 1976, his seventh and last novel at the time of my research. I used Notre Frey's typology of the hero as conceptual frame of reference. I also used the sociological approach. I found out that the heroes, or rather the central characters, in the first and Tumbe Koeboyi in Lamatan, we are mirrors of one another. I describe them as leader protagonists or hero protagonists. These hero protagonists of Sembène Ousmane had special qualities. They were ambitious and uncompromising, self-confident, with metallic courage. They were diligent, with an extraordinary power of endurance, extroverted, and involved in their social attitude. They are also outspoken and violent, not egoistic, but altruistic. More importantly, they were heroes. handicap peoples, the immigration, to better the society of their time. Psychology of Spanish heroes. Onyemekwa 1979, 2000 demonstrated clearly that Samuel Usman projected heroes in his first 4 novels, who are heroes in the traditional sense of the word. Heroes very similar to the 19th century heroes, especially those of Balzac. They fit very well into Gerard Lukács's concept of the hero, Fry's hero of high mimetic mode, or the epic hero. We found out that Bakayoko exceptionally implied the romantic hero, while Dokpala and Umar Faye are tragic heroes. We look at the symbolism of heroism in Samuel Usman's pre-independence novels. And we are reminded of the first brand of heroism in Africa. Africans are people who are courageous, brave, and they love heroism. And so we are reminded of the heroism amongst African ancestors, like Tinjana of the Togo, was a duty of Ashanti. Second brand of heroism in Africa, heroes engaged in anti-imperial struggles, e.g. Boshisho or Lesotho, and in the hands of the Dahomey, now Benin Republic. We found out that Biafra, Umar Faye, and Bakayoko are these heroes. Interestingly, a woman, female protagonist, Tunde Komebori, in that matter, reflected the fourth brand of heroism in Africa, nationalist heroes. We recall heroes like Sir Ahmadu Bello, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Kwame Nkrumah, even Nelson Mandela. Same Tuesday, as in general, I suggest the development and modernization of rural areas, allocation of adequate funding for modernization of agriculture. In this way, the youth will be retained in the village and they will have a better life there. Placement of emphasis on entrepreneurial education. I dropped my hat for 8 years because they are going to school. Forging our societies of religious and inter-ethnic wars. I suggest consistency in punishing of offenders. EFCC to take note. I suggest adequate upbringing of children by parents, effective socialization of the young ones. I recommend a reorientation of youth towards inculcating the spirit of nationalism and patriotism. We all should uphold and respect democracy and the rules governing it. I make a call for 21st century heroism. We need men and women in Africa and Nigeria in particular who are dedicated and dauntless, determined to transform all heroic acts to heroic acts in all spheres of life, whose watchwords are positive change. The inaugural lecturer's impact as president of some women's group is worthy of note. Many of the women under my leadership went back to school looking for better certificates. Some started one trade or the other. And I have an example in mind. One lady who became a doctor, she's presently the head of integrated science department, the College of Federal College of Education, Zaria, Dr. Mrs. Gloria Ewu. We should do our best to influence other people's lives positively, be they educated or illiterate. This has implications for mentorship in the university. Senior academics should be willing to mentor the younger ones, and I advise the younger ones to be humble enough to be willing to, ready to submit themselves to mentorship. Conclusion. I have shown in this lecture that Samuel Usman, in his anti-colonial novels, feature leader or hero protagonists who are heroes in the Marxist or Kitchen sense of the word, and in his post-colonial novels projected anti-heroism. Some other francophone African writers like Mongo Petit, Sorila Butansi, Amadou Kourouma, Mariam Abba, Kalis Beala, joined him to condemn anti-heroic acts in traditional gerontocracy, colonial and post-colonial systems of government, especially the dictatorial regime. The inaugural lecturer has, through her numerous research works, joined these writers to fight against the highlighted anti-heroic acts. And she's against all forms of violence against women, girls, children, and men. She calls for a new spirit of patriotism, heroism, in short, humanism, suggesting that all these level men, governments all over the world, in particular in Nigeria, should rise as a matter of urgency and take appropriate measures, taking cognizance of all her recommendations to check violence in our societies and wipe out all forms of anti-heroism, particularly corruption and spontaneity, so as to make the world, and Nigeria in particular, a better place to live in. Thank you all for patiently listening. Merci beaucoup. Danke sehr. Oshe kupo. Dango de pai. Dango riene. Here with Excellent Scholarship Award, presented to a great woman of honor, an internationally acclaimed doyen of erudition, Professor Ifeoma Onyemelukwe, a scholar par excellence. Congratulations, Admiral Anne.
Permit me at this juncture to invite the entire members of the Onyemelukwe family to rise for recognition, please. Okay, that's very good. Okay. You may sit down, please. Thank you so much. It's really another man's poison. During the last inaugural lecture last month, where a friend of mine presented his paper, I told you the struggle we had to go through in a French program. We were given two options, either to study French or Arabic. So friends of mine invited me to a French class. Believe me, God at that time gave me a kind of premonition, a kind of hunch that I was not cut out for that program. Now, today I don't know whether I hated the teacher who taught the course or the course itself. Now, the very first lesson we had, whether it was the size of his lips, they were big and thick. Come on to the fool. He said, go top, go. I kept looking at the lip, low top, go. He said, can kese. I said, did he say can kese or kes kese? When he said can kese, I thought he was trying to say can keso in Hausa, you know, but I couldn't understand. So I opted out. Later, I didn't regret what I did. Friends of mine came back complaining that they scored no more than 20% in French, 30%. The highest scorer was 50. So I went back to Arabic and scored 100%. Wow. Thank you. Well, that's it. Allow me to make, before I get to the next item on the agenda, very, very, very special mention of 3 people here. The first one is Professor Adamu Beiki, under whom I worked in the Institute of Education, and she too, we worked under him at least for 4 years. It was at that time an ad hoc remedial program was introduced into the university. Nothing was earmarked for the program, not even a classroom. No single teacher had been recruited. They sent me 2,480 students without a classroom, without a teacher. So I kept giving glory to God for enabling me to work under the good leadership of Professor Adamu Beiki. We managed the program for 4 years, and more than 11,000 people benefited from those programs. Today, they are highly placed in the society. This credit goes to nobody but Professor Adamu Beiki, and I thank him very much indeed. Then, about 12 years back, Professor S.U. Abdullahi saw the need to revitalize this particular inaugural lecture series. It had gone dormant for a long time, but he revitalized it. And today, what is happening here again, the credit goes to him. All right? Please give him a big round of applause. And then the other professor, when we were students, you know, he used to be the model for everyone, Professor Ango Abdullahi, who pampered us so much that we rioted, you know, we didn't want too much rice, and we said, Ango must go. Today we're saying that Ango must come back, and it's going to stay forever, right? That's right. So at this juncture, I would like to call on the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in the person of Dr. Alex Ekweme, to give a short remark. While I say prelude to him, to my other friend, I'm going to say, Maka. All right, so Professor Alex, please.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, if not, that I'm sure my name is Alex, and the fact that the company has introduced me as the former vice president, I would not have come up to this podium because he was inviting Professor Alex Ekweme. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but I'm saying fortunately, I have 2 other brothers, 2 younger brothers. There are 3 of us in the family, 3 boys. My immediate younger brother is Professor Laz Ekweme, Professor of Music. And my youngest brother is Professor Obuneme Ekweme, who was Professor of Surgery at the University of Nigeria, coming back from Makerere before that. I'm not Professor Ekweme, I'm Alex Ekweme. However, we wanted the former vice president to come and make a few remarks, so I'm here. First of all, I must congratulate Professor Mrs. Ifeoma Mabel on what in my limited review, I consider a very brilliant inaugural lecture. It is sad, I've always said this, even when I was Vice President, that perhaps because of our heritage from Britain being an island, they believe that everything would revolve around them. They had an insular attitude to life. So, whereas the average French secondary school student is able to speak English reasonably well, we find that the average British student could not speak French well, if at all. And we have that problem here. We are surrounded by French-speaking countries, and if you cross a border to any of those, the average educated person there will be able to respond if you speak to him in English. Unfortunately, if they crossed the border and came to our own side and spoke to the average educated person in Nigeria in French, they would draw blank. So I'm very happy that we have people like Professor Foma who are promoting the study of French. And I hope that a time will come when nobody in Nigeria will hold a position beyond level 10 unless he or she was French. Me, je ne comprends pas bien français, but I think it is important that all educated people in Nigeria, especially those holding high bureaucratic or political office, should be able to speak French. That will make for easier communication between us and our neighbors, and also between us and the international community. I remember that at one time, when there was a vacancy for the Secretary General of the United Nations, and it was decided that an African should be the one to take up the position. Our former president, Richard Obasanjo, wanted the Secretary General of the United Nations, and he had to undergo a crash course in French. So, I don't want to comment too much on that, but probably we need a crash course in English first before the crash course in French. But that gives you an idea of what is required. Well, the person who eventually got the position, Boutros Ghali, was fluent in English, French, and Arabic. So he had a wide constituency within the United Nations system to communicate with most of the members in the language they normally speak. When Professor Geoffrey invited me to come here today, I was delighted to accept to come, but really I didn't have much choice because my maternal grandmother is from their family. So if I refuse to come, I could be subject to some sanctions, which will not be very palatable. But I'm happy that I came and I had the opportunity of listening to this inaugural lecture. And I go back with fond memories of it. And all I can urge all of us today is to try to be heroes and not anti-heroes. Thank you very much.
Dean of Arts.
Very much, Pontia. On behalf of the Dean of my faculty, who is slightly indisposed, we wish to thank everybody for coming. You could agree with me that it's been a wonderful evening, and we have all learned. The message is that we should all try to be heroes and not anti-heroes. And of course, you all know our faculty as a very dynamic one. We will keep coming here. In fact, I think the local, the inaugural committee will have to say stop, because we are all prepared to be coming. We'll take a cue from how we will always be here. Well, we wish to thank everybody. I think I'll start from the general to the specific. We thank everybody here that have found one way away to come. There are so many of you, there's no way I can mention all of you as you are here. But thank you for your support and for your contributions. We also wish to thank the Vice Chancellor, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Admin, Professor Ibrahim Nayi Asada, for coming and for the very, very good speech. Now, we will thank the speaker, the inaugural lecturer, for a job well done. Thank you very much, and we are very happy and proud of you as a faculty. We are also very grateful to the inaugural committee for a very wonderful work. Thank you very much. There are other people here, our professors, able professors, because I don't think somebody will be a professor if he's not able. I don't know what we have, but our able professors, our HODs, our deans across the faculties, we thank you for coming, because it's been a wonderful evening, and we are always grateful for your support too. Now, the former Vice Chancellors, our elders, please, we thank you very much, Professor Adamu Beki, Professor Angu Abdullahi, Professor Shu Abdullahi. We are very grateful. I think, please, you should always find time to be coming to our inaugural lecture, so that you will make us proud. We'll be eager to have you, so that you will give us that guidance that we need. And I think the committee should also think of involving one or two of you to make speeches at the end of the lecture. Finally, I think we should thank Dr. Alex Kweme, the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. We hope we will see you again. You will always find time to come again. When you are coming, if we are aware, we'll go and wait for you in the airport. Kaduna there. So we bring you, but it's an honor to have you here with us. We are very grateful, and we always want to have you with us. The words in Africa, the words of elders are words of wisdom. Thank you very much. We are grateful.
Well, before I say au revoir, I hope I'm not trying to vomit. It's difficult in Nigeria now to know whether one is mad, whether one is a lunatic, or whether one is insane. This is an assignment for all of you. How are we sure we're not mad? Let me see. I think I'm okay, I'm not mad, all right? So let me invite a monk. And when I say a monk, I mean a monk. And that's no other person than Professor Julius Gwani, who's been such a religious person, to give us the closing praise. Thank you so much, sir.
Pray. Our God and Father, we want to thank you for your goodness. We want to thank you because before a day comes to be, you knew it. We thank you for forming our sister so fearfully and wonderfully. We thank you for her life. We thank you for the life of her family. We thank you for her career. We thank you for the children that are a blessing that came from you. We thank you, O God, for friends that we know. We thank you for her husband. We thank you, O God, for members of the extended family. We thank you for members of the academia. And we thank you for Nigerians. Thank you, O God, for people that have come from far and wide to identify with her and to listen to her inaugural lecture. We want to thank you. Lord, we thank you for Johnny Mercy's bring that you have brought all of us here. as we depart from here, we are requesting that you take us safely home to where we came from. And that, Lord of glory, the very issues she raised, help us, O God, that we will be mindful of all that you have made available to us and eschew violence and promote heroism and de-emphasize anti-heroism. Thank you because you are going to show us mercy and favor. And we are asking that, Lord, may your hands be upon her perpetually for good and that of her family. And that you lead us to our various destinations safely. This we ask with thanksgiving in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
With your indulgence, to allow the procession after the national anthem to go out in reverse order. As soon as we go out, then we follow suit. So the national anthem, if you band. Thank you.